Hi, everyone. We are here today with Elisa Vitalo and Matt Cunningham on the Edelman Intelligence team. They are here to share some awesome background on recent work that's been coming out of their team. They are awesome tech experts, and we wanted to give you all the chance to hear right from them about all of the awesome insights they've been uncovering. So, Elisa and Matt, one of the reports that has come out recently has been the Brands and Sectors report, which I know a lot of our client teams have dug into, shared insights, and has been super valuable. How does that report ladder up to other IP like trust, and how can teams use that in the future?
Sure. So I'll jump in first, Elisa, and then please weigh in. So I think the big distinction is there is a core team, obviously, that manages the trust barometer and all the trust-related offshoots that Edelman puts out in terms of the core trust IP. The distinction with the brand and sector report and the technology-specific report is, those are intended to be for client and prospect conversations, really, to share insights with clients that are timely and relevant. In this case, how is COVID impacting the tech sector, and helping clients really understand what is on consumers' minds, what are they anticipating their behavior changes to be. So that's really where the genesis of this is that there's a need that Edelman client teams came to us with, that our clients have this need for insights. Is there IP we can produce in a relatively short order? And that's something that we work with them to produce, and we are in lockstep with the trust team to make sure we're not overlapping with any efforts they have underway, and that they're aware of other efforts that are happening throughout the network. But that's the main distinction, is we look at these individual IP efforts on a case-by-case basis. What does the client need? And then how can we design a piece of IP, and in this case, a survey with consumers to help address that need?
Exactly. And I think, trust is its own separate thing to Matt's point. And I think the difference here is, a lot of what we do is really meant to be shared one-on-one with clients, not meant to be put out under the Edelman name for public release. So if we're looking to do something that is for public release, we have to work much more closely with the trust team and make sure that we have all of those approvals in place before we go out more broadly with that research. This COVID research is really meant for us to have real-time insights so that we can go out to clients and make sure they're as well informed as possible as they're making their next decisions.
Awesome. I think that is super helpful for me, and probably for other folks as well, for knowing the distinction between everything that your team is putting out lately. So in that vein, after putting together the Brands and Sectors report and all of the other great client work you've been doing, what have been some of the most interesting technology industry specific insights that you guys have found?
Sure. So, for me, and I know Matt has his own insights as well, but for me, what I thought was particularly interesting is the fact that some of the technology brands that were struggling prior to COVID didn't necessarily have the best reputations, maybe struggled with some brand love. We're actually seeing them getting a lot of recognition for the work that they're doing during COVID. So in our open-ended responses, we asked people, which brands from a technology perspective do they think have been responding pretty positively to the outbreak? And they named brands like internet service providers, Comcast and Spectrum and Verizon, as well as social media companies like Facebook. None of these companies would have ever been listed on the positive side in an open-ended statement before COVID. But because people wouldn't be able to do anything right now without internet service, and because they're relying so heavily on social media, these companies are getting new recognition that they didn't have before. So it's kind of an odd benefit there for those tech companies.
Yeah, and what I would add is that in addition to the increased reliance on technologies, given everyone's at home and needing technology for entertainment, for connection, for a whole host of reasons, there's also this other dynamic at play, which is the expectation for technology brands It applies for brands in general, but it's in the research we did, it was most pronounced for tech brands in terms of developing innovative solutions to help address the crisis. So what are they doing to assist schools and hospitals undergoing this challenge? What are they doing to protect the safety of their employees or their communities, in addition to servicing their customers through this that are relying on them more than ever? So all of that means that with this expectation, there's also an opportunity for tech brands, those that are able to sort of rise to this challenge, have an immense ability to build trust beyond levels that they saw even going into COVID-19.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. So when you're finding these insights and gathering all these inputs and coming up with these wonderful hypotheses to help our teams and clients, how do you go about finding that information?
Well, I think we start with asking questions. So we're researchers by trade, and that's where we always start. So when we get approached with a client challenge, or one of our colleagues within Edelman has, whether it's a specific brief or it's just a specific need they may have noticed, like in this case, I think we were starting to hear clients more and more asking for counsel on how to navigate COVID-19 and the variety of impacts it's having on their business. But more specifically, when the sector teams came to us, we just started asking questions. What is it that your clients would find value from if we were to do a survey or some other type of research at this stage? Mm-hmm. So it's really going through that process of understanding where would the value in this effort be, and then we backtrack to getting to a point of, okay, let's design a methodology and questions we can ask that will ladder back up to those kind of key value points.
Exactly. And we're working in conjunction with the teams at all points. So it's not like we're just asking those questions at the outset. We're really co-creating a questionnaire with them, making sure we have their input and their insights to go along with it. So, hopefully it's as actionable as possible and as meaningful as possible once the results come out.
Got it. So then how has this approach and how has research in general changed since COVID began?
So I think, from our standpoint, the methodologies in and of themselves haven't changed that much. There are differences in terms of kind of the timing for research now. But I think the real difference has been that, just like all of you, we are operating in a brand new world when it comes to what insights mean and what we can glean from them in terms of the future implications. So, prior to this, Matt and I have both been doing this for at least 15 plus whatever mumble years. So we have just a depth of knowledge in terms of how people typically respond, what that means, what that could imply for the future. Now people come to us and say, well, what's the benchmark for this? How does this compare? And we come back and say, we don't really know. It could mean anything at this point, which I think is why research has become so much more important, because the world is constantly changing on this week by week basis. So I'm seeing research become much more critical so that we can potentially predict how people are going to feel and react, because we don't have that baseline to rely on anymore necessarily.
Yeah, and one other thing I would add to that, I agree with everything that Lisa just said, is this the timing for specific research, and just being very mindful of, like, is it the right time? And I think if one example being thought leadership, there's a lot of conversations we're having with clients around that specifically. Is now the right time to be launching their thought leadership? Will it be additive to the conversation, understanding that so much of the news is related to COVID? How does it tie into that? How will it break through or wait? Those types of discussions are obviously happening quite a bit. But I think in general, there's also a desire for nimble approaches, understanding that things are changing so rapidly. There's also a little bit of a reluctance, understandably, to invest large in a research study that there's a concern that may things may have changed in the next 2 months once we get that data, and do we need to refresh it? And so how can we approach research projects in a more nimble fashion, and and ideally a trending? I think even with the tech report, it's something where we're asking consumers to project what they're going to do over the next 6 months with tech spend, for example. We always know that there's a little bit of a caveat with what people think they're going to do and what they actually do. And so we're going to have to kind of keep tabs on how is this evolving, particularly as the situation continues to, have a lot of uncertainty around it. When are the economy really going to open back up, and when are purses and wallets really going to open back up? So it's something we'll need to keep an eye on.
Definitely. Well, if a team determines that now is the right time for research, or is considering it and wants to talk to you guys about what's realistic for them, how can tech teams work with you guys, and how can they get in touch?
I think it starts with, you can reach out to Elisa or I, or you can reach out to whoever your local EI counterparts are, really as it always has been. But, we're really great in terms of being able to connect needs to the right people within EI. So it's not always necessarily the person in your own geo. And I know now more than ever, the geos are more dispersed, but we are very connected, particularly across the US. So reach out to whoever you know, and they'll put you in the right direction in terms of who the right people are to address that specific client need or opportunity.
Yeah. And don't feel like you have to come with something fully baked at all. If you just have a question that you want to ask, or if you want to learn more about what might be possible, feel free to reach out. Don't feel like you need to have something really fully formed in your mind. We're happy to work with you and answer questions and figure out what's the right approach.
Awesome. That all sounds great. Thank you guys so much for your time. I know this has been really helpful for me. I'm sure other folks reading this will agree. Please reach out if there's anything you guys need from us, and we'll do the same. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.